How's it going, everyone? This is the Anime Man. Romance is such an incredibly simple, yet equally complex and deep genre of fiction. It's a genre that can evoke a variety of different emotions with differing levels of sympathy and empathy and relatability. And at the same time can be a genre that is so easy to mess up and can be some of the hardest forms of fictional writing that an author or a future writer can challenge themselves to. The medium of anime, or in this case manga, is certainly not too shy from its differing types of romance stories and series. These stories can vary from sexual romance to comedic romance to action romance to horror romance, you name it. I think romance is such an interesting genre, especially in the world of anime and manga, because it so seamlessly fits with every other type of genre. So long as, of course, the writing and presentation of it is solid enough to pull its own individual audiences in. But at the end of the day, pure romance stories is something that is very difficult to come across, especially in the world of anime and manga, and especially those that aren't so boring and cliche. As well as everybody else, I too have my own personal stack of romance manga that I label as amazing or romantic or so tear-jerking, but this one manga that I'll be talking about today, this one romance manga, is just something completely different. And now that I've read it from start to finish, I can safely say is one of my all-time favorite romance manga, period. And it's really sad to know that there isn't a single anituber here on YouTube, here on the internet, that has uttered the name of this manga in any shape or form. There is no, I don't know any anitubers, I don't know any anituber friends who have even heard of this manga, and so I thought I would give it a spotlight in its own video today. So I thought I should do a semi-serious analysis and spotlight on what is now considered my favorite romance manga of all time that nobody knows, simply titled SHIZ. SHIZ is a 15-volume romance manga written by Katsura Masakazu, a seasoned manga artist for some other relatively known works like DNA Squared, Video Girl I, and Z-Man. SHIZ ran from 1997 to 2000 and was actually serialized in Shonen Jump, which you wouldn't really expect a series like this to be serialized in. The mid to late 90s for Shonen Jump was the start of what is commonly referred to as the second golden age of manga, an era of which a bunch of what is now considered legendary shonen manga series got their start. Series like Yu-Gi-Oh!, Slam Dunk, Rurouni Kenshin, Yu Yu Hakusho, Hunter x Hunter, Shaman King, Prince of Tennis, Hikaru no Go, and Naruto were just some of the few notable series that started during this period. And within all of these giant series, SHIZ was one of the few contenders that decided to stand its ground in the pure school romance genre. It's not that SHIZ was one of the first ever pure romance manga to come out of Shonen Jump. I mean, there have been plenty of amazingly crafted and classic romance stories to come out of Shonen Jump prior to SHIZ. But I think SHIZ kind of stands out from that crowd as being a pure romance with no other different genre gimmick to stand in its own way or to help it get itself up on its feet. A lot of romance tends to be mixed with other genres, but SHIZ decided to pursue a very simple, straight to the point romance story about a high school boy named Seto Ichitaka, trying to confess his love to his high school crush and school idol, Yoshizuki Iori, and follows the many trials and tribulations of overcoming his insecurities and the ever-changing landscape of high school love and puberty. Now, just by hearing that synopsis, that may seem really boring and cliche to a lot of people, and trust me, I felt that too when I first heard a synopsis similar to that as well. But once I sat down and actually started to read it, I was shocked at how much I was quickly getting invested in this story. Or rather, should I say, how much I was getting invested in the characters. I've mentioned this in many videos in the past, but I think one of the most important aspects of any romance story, not just limited to manga and anime, is how the characters are written and portrayed. More specifically, how much we can relate to the characters and how much of their characteristics, actions, and dialogue is believable in that context. In this case, SHIZ is an extremely well-written romance. Hell, maybe even one of the best, yet at the same time, the most subtle romance stories in manga as well. Since the story is so simple, the only thing the manga has going for it is its characters, and all of the characters, not just the main love interests, are all so well written and most importantly, believable. A lot of people seem to hate Ichitaka when he first makes an appearance, calling his indecisive opinions and impulsive decision-making tendencies as annoying or stretching, and that this trait does appear to be one element that really stunts the progression of the story. Or at least that's what it seems at first, because by the time you finish reading this manga, you'll realize how seamlessly Ichitaka's character changes and develops over time. Almost to the point where it's like we're following the story of a completely different person. And Iori's character is so multi-layered throughout the entire story. Confident and daring, yet delicate and sensitive. Both of these characters go through so many things together that may seem trivial on the spot, but over the course of the entire story, each of these points add up slowly as different points of development. Nothing feels unnaturally developed or happening too fast for the pacing of the story, but at the same time, it doesn't feel dragged out or pointless either. The pacing that SHIZ displays is so perfect for the loose and simple narrative it presents. It's almost as if I'm sitting there watching a friend go through a totally different romantic relationship from his last, rather than reading a fictional character on some pieces of paper. Which is why I think I was able to get so invested and so quickly invested in these characters and their stories. Each and every side character in the story is also just so well written. Sure, some of the side characters are there purely to fill in the gaps as that group of friends that surrounds the main characters, but even they get their times in the spotlight to develop their own feelings and own personalities. We get to see glimpses of their own trials and tribulations they're going through in life that greatly differ from the main love interest circumstances, yet can simultaneously be traced back to the main source of the plot and be relatable and believable on completely different levels. Every character has this consistent connection and level of relatability with the main character that significantly changes the pace of the narrative, while simultaneously helping to make small changes to how the protagonist acts in the story towards himself and his love interest. Every character just loops back around themselves and each other and is always interconnected in doing so. Basically what I'm trying to say here is that SHIZ is an extremely well-written, character-driven story, which is hard enough as it is to write and make good, but if you are able to write a very good character-driven plot, it becomes extremely effective. In the great words of Miyazaki Hayao, the characters are the story. Being invested in these characters and what they're going to do or what they're going to say, what they might possibly be thinking about themselves or the other person, and how each and every one of those small actions put together is going to greatly affect the different characters and their different stories is what makes this series so fucking captivating. And don't even get me started on the artwork. My fucking god. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten about that. If you're gonna pick up this manga, the first and most likely biggest step you'll have to get through is the artwork. As from the looks of it, this doesn't look like your typical Shonen Jump high school romance manga. The characters have this odd mix of realism mixed into its designs. There are no typical big-eyed, crazy-haired characters that we usually see from Shonen Jump, which, for younger viewers who may not exactly be used to this kind of oldish style, may be something that doesn't attract them all that much initially. And look, I understand that. I mean, at the end of the day, art is completely subjective. But personally speaking, I absolutely adore the art direction that SHIZ is going for. I think this touch of realism in character design really adds to the high levels of relatability and believability of characters that I mentioned earlier, which is again an extremely important bullet point when talking about good romance manga. That might also be the reason why a series like Ichigo 100% also appealed to me, and I absolutely love it to this day, but that's another video for another day. And yes, since this is a Shonen Jump manga, SHIZ is not shy in showing off a bit of fan service as well. In fact, since the characters look and act in such a relatable and believable fashion, I can argue that it's actually way more sexual and exciting to read than most full-on ecchi manga that I've read before. But the ecchi scenes and fan service sprinkled in this manga is done in such a tasteful and unforced and oftentimes dramatic way that it doesn't feel distracting to the overall progression and importance of the narrative. In fact, I can argue that without a lot of these ecchi scenes, certain points of the story possibly couldn't advance or be resolved in a realistic or believable way, which would completely shatter the immersion of the entire narrative. And I think one of the most important aspects which make this manga just so goddamn brilliant is how it takes care of its underlying story. I'm not going to talk in specifics about what exactly happens in this manga because I really want you guys to go and read this manga for yourselves. As much as I can do my best to make a video and giving it some spotlight and giving you guys an explanation and analysis on how much I fucking love this manga, I won't be able to tell you guys and portray the emotions that you will be feeling once you read this manga. But all I'm gonna say is, this story does not just end with another typical high school confession scene. It explores every single minute detail and corner of teen and adolescent romance, this growing teen and adolescent romance. All to such striking and dramatic effects that as I was reading this manga, it really made me reflect on my own romantic relationships and my current romantic situations. Which is another reason why this manga hit me really fucking hard in there. I've read a lot of romance manga in my life. I've seen a lot of romance anime in my life, but by far, SHIZ is, for me, one of the most simple yet striking examples of that medium. And look, as much as I spew my love for this manga in this video, I'm not saying that SHIZ is a perfect 10 out of 10 story. Some of the side characters do disappear and get replaced by other characters. And Ichitaka's stupid, impulsive, and wishy-washy decisions may sometimes just be a way to create dramatic context and prolong the story for as long as possible. But by the end of the story, these seemingly forgotten characters manage to make their appearances again and continue to affect the progression of the narrative and emotions felt by the main love interest to the very, very end. And I think this decision to quote-unquote kill off certain characters in a story like this adds another beautiful layer of realism and relatability. Not every important person in your life is going to stick around to see how the story of your life is going to progress. Some people stay to watch, and some people go and live their own lives. Like, that's just human nature, that's just how life works. I think by doing this, SHIZ manages to portray this idea that I like to coin relative protagonism quite effectively. By that, I mean every single person is the protagonist of their own story. Sure, right now in this manga, we are watching the protagonist Ichitaka living his life, living his story. He is the protagonist of his life, but in the story of life, we are our own protagonists. And in the case with all the other characters that aren't the main love interests in the show, they are their own protagonists. They have their own lives to live, their own trials and tribulations, their own stages of development that they need to overcome on their own. Sure, it may seem like a dumb and trivial thing to think about in a fictional story like manga, but the emotions and feelings behind that are a very real thing that many people can relate to. And this sense of realism also reflected greatly on Ichitaka's impulsive decisions. I mean, this is a love story about teens trying to be adults. Sometimes they're gonna make some stupid decisions. They're going to be confused. They're going to be scared and run into some walls in their lives. I can argue that a character like that in a romantic story is way more interesting and way more relatable to watch than some harem protagonist who can get like 30 bitches surrounding him just by, falling flat on his face for no apparent reason. At the end of it all, I think what I loved most about SHIZ was just how pure it was. Yes, as any good Shonen Jump manga, it does have some straight up fan service, I will admit to that. But overall, SHIZ is just a pure-hearted romance stories of some high school kids trying to discover what is important in their life. Is it love or is it life? Nothing more, nothing less. I get it if you think like this is just some stupid romance shit and like you're not interested in it. I'm completely fine with that, but for me personally, SHIZ really hit me hard on thinking about my own life, reflecting on my own life and what I have decided to do and what I have decided to make of myself in my life. Not just romantically, but just in my life in general. In the second half of the series, there's even this character that is in a long-distance relationship, and the things that she has to go through and the things that is portrayed in the story of SHIZ that she has to go through, that one especially hit me really hard considering that I too am also in a long-distance relationship right now. And I think no matter what kind of romantic relationship you are in your own lives, even if you're not in a romantic relationship at all, I think there will be at least one aspect, one little thing that you will find while reading SHIZ that you can relate to, that you can use to reflect upon yourself and think about yourself with. And at the end of the day, that's why I love romance manga and anime. You're just able to feel a wide variety of emotions that can really make you reflect on your own life. And I think if a manga is able to do something like that, then it is a powerful piece of fiction that is worth sharing. And again, since literally no other anituber on this platform has even mentioned the name Eyes in any video or just in the history of ever, I thought it was only fair to give a series that is so deserving of a spotlight, its own spotlight and its own video. And since nobody has ever heard of this manga, I don't expect this video to get a lot of views or get a lot of attention, but hey look, I was able to share my feelings with this very special romance manga, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoy it. If you end up loving the series after this video, then cool. If you don't want to even bother checking it out, or you think you don't like it, then that's also fine as well. Regardless of how you decide to take my analysis, how you decide to take this video, how you decide to take the series in general, I'm still happy that I was able to recommend a manga that means very dear to me. But anyways guys, let me know what you think about Eyes if you have read it. Let me know if you enjoyed it, let me know if you didn't enjoy it, what are some things you did like about it, what are some things you didn't like about it, did you relate to it as strongly as I did? Perhaps there are some other romance manga and anime that you related to even more. So if you have any of those kinds of opinions and topics and comments, then I want you to leave it, all that kind of stuff, in the comments below. And if you enjoy my manga reviews, if you enjoy me talking about different types of manga, then I usually put it on my monthly otaku collection videos, which I do at the end of each month. So I've left a few episodes of that in the description below. If you haven't watched any of those, definitely check it out if you want some more awesome manga recommendations. I was originally going to recommend this manga on the last monthly otaku collection, but I figured I had so much to say about this manga, as you saw in this video. I thought it would just be easier if I just made it on its own video. Plus I wanted to, you know, again, as I said, give it its own spotlight, give it a little bit of shining light, considering not enough people talk about this fucking awesome manga. And hey, if you enjoy these more semi-serious, you know, less comedy-centered analysis videos, then I guess leave a like on this video to let me know. I'd definitely like to do more. There are a bunch of other manga series, a bunch of other anime series that I would like to share with you guys in more of these kinds of videos rather than my usual rant style videos. And you know, it's a nice challenge for me as well creatively. So if you enjoy these kinds of videos, make sure to smash that like button, fam. But yeah, I am gonna go reread me some Eyes again because I fucking love this manga so much. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching as always. Like and favorite if you enjoy, subscribe from Rhino Banner, and I'll see you guys in the next video of whatever I make. Keep watching anime. Sane!